You got backups upon backups just in case.
No, that's just all my audio.
So, all your audio's
yeah,
through that.
I don't use any angles from there.
Oh, okay.
It's all on here. You're
gotcha.
safe.
Great. No worries.
Great hat, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm a fan of the brimmed beanie look.
The brimmed beanie
Yeah,
look?
so I do it whenever I'm having a bad hair day.
Would you say it completes your look? Thanks for joining me here at the garage.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This place is cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
This is a wonderful place that's hosting a legend right now because you have, is it 70 million subscribers?
I wish it was 70 million.
Yeah, something like that.
If it was 70 million, I would be on the moon. I'd be very far away from everyone. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I would be
Let's
very
process
secluded.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. You've been doing YouTube for how long?
Oh man, it'll be 12 years in September.
Okay, so kind of just getting started, and in that time, how many subscribers has your channel gotten to? Give me some stats about what you're up to.
Sure, yeah. So at this point, I think I have 1.6 million subscribers.
Okay. Does that even matter though anymore?
Nowadays, no. If this was like YouTube circa 2014, 2015, that number would have a lot more.
It's still amazing. But
still amazing, but truth be told, subscribers don't matter anymore on YouTube. What really matters is view per video, and monthly views, and that's something that people kind of forget about when they talk about YouTubers. So my YouTube channel, based off the math of people out there, from like a brand perspective, I have a very healthy channel because I have such a massive backlog of hundreds of videos.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I've completed over 450 games. I have a Let's Play channel that's outputs content daily.
Yeah.
Within my own company, I do merchandise for other content creators, as well as I also do management for content creators. So I help them negotiate brand deals. We're kind of like an all one-stop shop thing with multiple kind of verticals established.
That's very impressive. And I'm glad that you're here, that you hang out with a little baby channel like mine. That's really cool. But you neglected to mention the most important aspect of your life and who you are, which is your ethnic heritage.
Yes.
We are both
Lebanese.
That's right.
So how it works, for those of you that don't know, if you are Lebanese and you meet someone who's Lebanese, it's no longer like, oh, who are you? It's like, no, we're brothers, we're sisters. From now on, like you know each other. My grandpa knows this guy and that guy, and it becomes a whole thing.
When you went in to study filmmaking, how does that influence something like YouTube?
Oh man, so filmmaking wasn't the end all goal. What I wanted to do was anything in entertainment. I am under the belief that if you are an actor, you should know how the camera works. You should know how the lights work. You should know how the sound works. You should know what a producer does, what a writer does, all that stuff. And so I started out as an actor at a very young age. I was acting at like Extra and XYZ movie, TV show of the time. I was so young I didn't really remember it. My mom wanted me to do it, so I did it. And then I really got bit by the acting bug in high school. Okay. And so in high school, I was always acting. Whether I was studying theater, I was producing theater, I was doing improv and comedy, things like that. Towards the tail end of high school, I really wanted to get involved in video production because I know a lot about tech. The tech teacher at my school, or rather the film teacher, said, oh, theater kids don't mix with the film kids. That was like a very clear line that he made. Yeah. And just him saying that made me go so crazy that I made my first film ever without knowing anything about making a movie. Okay. I have watched so many movies, I'd done so many things. I made it in a way where I could make it my senior thesis. So
can you go back and watch that film now?
No. No, I made sure that...
I don't mean like can we, I mean like can you?
No and no. Okay. Yeah, I made sure that no one's seen the movie. Well, mostly for me, because it's... So the movie was called Picture Perfect, and it was a autobiography docuseries about my family. Oh, that's fantastic. Because my mom had dementia, and she got dementia when I was 10, and so she passed away 10 years ago exactly, 2 weeks ago. So it's been 10 years without her on the planet, but I was her caretaker with my family for about from when I was 10 till I was 24. So 14 to 15 years she had this illness. This movie was about the meeting of my mom and my dad meeting and how they got together. And, I grew up in a pretty well-off neighborhood, but the neighborhood was the kind of place that everyone just didn't talk about the problems and would just kind of focus on having a family and being the best.
Who graduated such and such and achieved such and
exactly.
such, right?
But in actuality, you don't know what's going on behind the curtain. And so we were one of those families that experienced that, but our perspective is so different because we were immigrants. You know, my dad literally came from Lebanon. I made this movie and I premiered it and it did really well. We raised a bunch of money in honor of my mom. And then I went to college and I wasn't doing film. I said, I'm going to become an actor only. And then as I started doing acting stuff, I was like, okay, but I do like making short films and I do like directing and I do like producing. And there was a group of friends of mine in high school that we loved getting together and just messing around and doing sketches and shorts. There's a dumb short online called Jirard's Big Date. It's a very weird abstract piece of media where I eat ice cream for 3 minutes and sing Sean Kingston's Beautiful Girls. It's very weird. We made whatever we wanted.
I think that sounds amazing.
It's bizarre. It makes no sense.
I like bizarre, though.
It's very weird, And so that eventually led to all of us trying to make something on YouTube together. And so I made a sketch show called Ari and Stone. It was about 2 guys trying to save the world from the internet kind of taking over. And so we had sketches and storylines of like real things in real life. My character accidentally created the adpocalypse in real life because he clicked too many ads. And so ads were like in the 3D space attacking denizens. And so we had to hire Detective McAfee and Detective Avast to basically help.
Meta.
Yeah, exactly.
So fun stuff. And then you go from this and then you start doing the Completionist thing and then you rebrand it and come back. There's really multiple phases of Jirard the Completionist on YouTube.
Yeah, so the Completionist was my 5th YouTube channel that I tried to make.
No kidding.
So I tried to make, because I really believed early on that YouTube was going to be the place for the future of everything, whether sketch comedy and stuff. I knew back then, in 2007, that that's where this was going to go. And so I just tried anything and everything that worked, whether it was stand-up comedy, whether it was sketch comedy, whether it was doing reviews. The Completionist was attempt number 5, and honestly my final attempt, because I was really getting burnt out. Which is kind of funny because it prepared me for what this career would be. So I was already burnt out before I started The Completionist.
Okay.
My biggest inspiration in all of my comedy prowess or aspirations, if you will, is Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is my favorite director of all time. I think he understands nuance and comedy and even just how a camera works.
Was he not
illustrating those things?
Just the perfect person to do Scott Pilgrim?
That movie is what made me reconsider my entire life. Nice. Like, seeing that movie made me go, holy God, this guy can direct a hilarious movie through the eyes of a licensed property and make it feel genuine and real and fun. And even though it had these famous stars and actors, like, all the performances were so good and it's just oozing with passion and love. And that was like my aspiration, was like, I think I can do that in some capacity. I would love to do what Edgar Wright does, which is have fun with the camera and tell stories through his comedy.
For those who don't know, he's also made Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, with the At World's End.
At World's End.
Last Night in Soho.
Last Night in Soho was his most recent film.
And then the Driver one, Baby Driver?
Baby Driver was really great. He also...
Even if his movies aren't your favorite, they're still really good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's made a bad movie.
No, he's just phenomenal overall. But he was my biggest inspiration and gave me hope that there was still kind of a space in the world for comedy in that way. Because I feel like at that point, the comedy scene was really focusing on the SNL styles of like Will Ferrell and Judd Apatow. And not that I don't like those guys. Those guys were definitely on my list as well. But you kind of got this like young man improv comedy where like bits and one-liners were the focus of the comedy. You can get something like Anchorman out there, which is a great film, but when you talk about Anchorman, you don't talk about the plot. You talk about the 7 to 12 lines that are in that movie that are palpable.
Constantly repeat them,
and then everyone's like, yeah, I saw that movie, right? Anchorman. Like, that's just how it kind of happens.
Are you making art with all of this? Or, you know, how is it different from filmmaking for you?
I think in the beginning I thought I was making art. In the beginning, I thought I was making art. It really, I cared so much about the comments, and I cared so much about how I was perceived and how sketches are done and how pacing is. And I think, and you see glimpses of those creators out there who really focus in on their art, which I absolutely love. It's hard because you said it earlier, like, art and finance just collide with each other, and the understanding of what that means changes every single year. Right now, the big thing is TikTok, right? TikTok's exploding. Everyone's making TikToks and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But there's no money in TikTok yet. Unless you're in that tall echelon of people or the small echelon of people, you're not making a single dollar on it.
It's so interesting because there's interesting things you can do on TikTok and on YouTube with shorts in thinking of how to make a compelling short. But I think it forces you to just go, what is the thing? And I'm just going to focus only on the thing. And it's interesting when I make a short that's 50 seconds long, it's like, that's too long. It's got to be like 20 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's like we're going right back to Vines. Creatively, it's good, I think, when you write, when you edit, when you do anything, to say more by saying less.
Yeah, I think to give you an idea, I have a TikTok and I have YouTube Shorts, but you'll notice that I never post on them. If I do post on them, it comes from the social media team that works for me.
Yeah.
It's not from me, because I love being collaborative and creative. If you were like, hey Jirard, you have an hour to make a movie, here's a pencil and Final Cut Pro and go, what happens? I love that kind of stuff. But if you were like, hey, make a YouTube short, make a TikTok, my brain would stop. It would stop working, because I've been creating long form for so long, and as my age has kind of gone up and up, my whole thing has been, if you have nothing to say, I don't want to watch it. And that's like the hard extrapolation of YouTube now, because the clickbait, the advertising, the pulling people in doesn't equate to the quality and the storytelling that I would hope that would come from this generation. So it's been difficult conflating art and finance because they don't understand each other.
By the way, as we're talking about art, I feel like we should back up. When I say art, I mean making something artistic is ultimately expressive. I'm communicating something, whether subtly or abstractly or quite literally, like almost sermonizing, something that I'm hoping the audience will feel, because it's, or maybe I don't care what they feel, but it is expressive of something inside of me. So I'm thinking of storytelling and narration, and like the South Park guys talk about, okay, every time they write, they go, all right, we're here, and because of this, what now? Not just now make something that has nothing to do with anything, like
and therefore
this,
and therefore this,
right.
Not but then, but therefore.
Yes.
It's such a. I just watched a lot of South Park, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's a well-written show.
It very much is. It's not as much as it's poops and fart jokes. Like, it's so much more.
Yeah.
That's just
at least starting around season 5 or so, it changed.
Yes, totally. Because of my role at G4, I got a taste of what it was to create a passion project, and I have the rights to the show, so I can make it if I want to.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I made a show called God of Work.
That's right.
And it's The Office meets video game characters.
Yep.
The idea is that all these video game characters work at a temp agency, and in between acting gigs, they go to, or video games in this case, they go to this agency to hone their craft and do the job they're supposed to do. So Mario and Luigi, they're the custodians. We have a character named Skeleton that is like the head of, I don't know what Skeleton did, but he has his role as like a minion in the game, right? And then Kratos was the head of inventory. So, because he has a very clean inventory management from the game. So for him, his whole thing is that he's good at numbers, but he's really good at killing things and being violent. And so it's called God of Work, and it's essentially The Office. We shot this 6-episode show that was 15 to 21 pages each episode in literally 6 days.
Okay.
It was 5 days of shooting back to back, and then one final day a week later, which was the one that I did. Yeah. Okay. It was one of the most Herculean tasks I think I've ever done creatively. Yeah. We had such a passionate team that really believed in the thing that I pitched, and it was great because it was my idea, but what I wanted to do with it was I just wanted to go, hey, here's my idea. What do you guys do with my idea? And so I incepted the idea, and then they took it and they made it their own. And awesome. It was so fun seeing that, because as much as like I'm the face of it and I am Kratos, the God of Work, they made it their own show. They brought characters and nuance, and it felt so organic and real and fun and comedically driven that before G4 exploded, we released the whole season.
G4, is that like a vitamin?
Now it is. Nowadays it is, for sure. It's what the doctor puts in your thigh when you're not feeling too good.
Oh, gosh.
Vitamin G4. But yeah, essentially, I released the whole show as one video on my channel, and the minute I pressed live, we were greenlit for a second season, and we were we were starting production on the next season. It was just, people loved it. It did so much for our community and the people working on it, and so now G4 is no longer here, but I have the rights and IP for it. So if I wanted, I guess what I'm saying is, if I had all the money in the world right now,
that's what you do.
I would love to make a second season of God of Work.
That's awesome.
And really kind of end the story, because we only planned for 2 seasons. Because it was like, we wanted to do a season before Ragnarok and then a second season after Ragnarok to kind of wrap things up.
You said The Office.
Yes.
I've seen God of Work.
Yes. Oh, thank you, by the way. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
God of Work is based on The Office England? Or
the American Office, for sure.
Yeah, so the British one, what I loved so much is that he has a beginning and an end, and not a drag out for 17 extra seasons at the end.
Yeah.
But you're Edgar Wright. You're going British with your comedy. I didn't know where that all connects, but it ultimately all goes back to the original, anyways. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that's unique about The Completionist is it seems like very much a formatted TV show. You can expect an intro. You can expect to talk about a product that's that's sponsoring the channel. Then you can get into a very thorough analysis of the games, and then there's the breakdown, which you kind of have switched around some of it, but it's largely, it feels like a TV show on YouTube, not like a YouTube video. How did that evolution happen?
Yeah, so it was always the fact that you said it feels like a TV show is a win in my book, because I always wanted it to feel like a TV show. I wanted it to feel like this was something you saw, on Adult Swim or G4 or really anything of that modern era of TV watching. Because I grew up watching TV and film. Nowadays, no one really does that. It's all streaming services, right? So for me, the goal from day one was to make it feel like a TV show. And I think the important factor in that was deciding how my voice was heard from start to finish. Okay. So when I started the show, I was like really insecure about my acting. I was at all-time low, and so my performance and my confidence that I usually have was just missing. And so over the course of doing the show in the first year, I really started to learn what I liked doing, what I liked talking about, how I liked finessing it. And at the time, the YouTube space was filled with so many content creators, right? And there's definitely way more now, but what I really mean specifically is the gaming review guy.
Yes.
Who has a beard, who has games behind him, like so many.
No one's doing this. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Exactly, right? You've seen this a million times, right? You've seen this.
Okay, but no one's doing 2 Lebanese men talking about video games.
That's true.
That's a novel concept.
A very novel concept.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about our favorite hummus brands
and
hummuses after this. Which there is no hummus brand. It's whatever grandma makes.
Correct. Yeah. And don't try and buy the stuff from Ralph's. I know. Don't do it.
No, come on.
So in the beginning, it was me kind of figuring out my voice. Once I found my voice, then I kept saying, great, how do I make the audience care more about my creative vision? And in the beginning, I kept making the show, it's a video game review show. So I had to have hokey on purpose, poorly written sketches on purpose, because that would match in the tone to everyone else's style. And after doing that for 3 or 4 years, I was like, I don't know if I actually like doing this. And I don't know if it speaks to my inspirations as much as I thought. And over time, I started realizing, well, I'm going to complete the game. That's why I'm talking about the game. So instead of it being like, will he, won't he, game good, music good, what if I kind of shifted the story from, instead of will he complete it, to this game makes me feel X feeling because Y completionist thing happened.
Okay.
And so that's where the storytelling really shifted in my eyes. And in the beginning, it was like every episode had a roadmap where it was like, it looked like a video game map, and it was like, this is the intro, now this is this part of the journey, now this part of the journey. And after time, we realized, people like the storytelling aspect, but it moves slow. It's very like, back to the show. But
that's anti-YouTube and pro TV. Like, TV is about a beginning and an end, and YouTube is about what are you going to do right now. And
exactly.
There's something about that. That's why it feels different. I've been advised before, get rid of a theme song. Like, don't have an intro, don't have a theme song.
I've been told that multiple times.
I have a great theme song. And I've noticed you keep yours.
Yeah.
And it's super well produced. There's a ton of effects and graphics and all kinds of things are going on that I'm like, well, someone spent time on this. But at the same time, I wonder if you or anyone in your team ever goes, all right, let's crack open the analytics and goes, skipped here, skipped the skit,
or
like extra watched the skit. But,
I every YouTube consultant person out there who said my channel said I was killing my channel because I had an intro.
Yeah.
Every single one. And I'm stubborn because if I don't have an intro for what I am, like, to me, the intro does one thing and one thing really well. It tells you what the show is about within 7 to 9 seconds. Guy versus game.
Yeah.
He completes game.
He wins.
Sometimes he gets battle damage and it's difficult. He has to power up with the beard to conquer a thing.
Yeah.
He wins. Thanks for watching. That's what that intro has always conveyed from beginning to end. But you'll see through the evolution, there's one season where literally it looks just like Scott Pilgrim. We did it on purpose. And every season, every type of the intro, we used to change the intro every 18 months. Now we do it every 100 games because we want to get a lot more longevity out of our assets, but also because I'm trying to figure out how I feel throughout the course. Every 100 games I feel differently about the previous 100 games. So I actively made a stubborn call to keep the intro, because to me it's also like, what makes me different than everyone else? Right? Like,
it is a bit of an introduction on a first date. The question is how, especially for those who are new, or there's something familiar about it for folks like myself who are like, it's the intro, it's my buddy Jirard, you know, he's gonna do another video. But there is something about, too, that the YouTube audience is just inherently different than the movie and TV show audience. They expect something different. I even just think of the purposefulness of an intro. What is the point of that in terms of the storytelling of, I'm completing Persona 5, so I'll see you guys in 7 years. And I don't know, I just think it's an interesting thing to have to sit with and think about.
And we've thought about it multiple times.
Yeah.
We whenever we do the new, so there's 3 artists I work with who are my intro consultants. It's like Nikolai Bolton, Satchel Drakes, and Javed.
I'm sorry, I need to just stop you right there.
Yeah.
What band did Satchel Drakes play for?
What band?
He just sounds like he was in like an 80s band. Like,
Satchel?
and please welcome Satchel Drakes.
Yeah. Satchel.
And I don't know this guy, so I hope he's kind.
He's like the nicest guy on planet Earth.
I know he watches everything that you do, so he's probably going to watch this thoroughly.
Probably at some point he will. So those 3 kind of been my creative special effects trust guys. Satchel was the first one who really took the Completionist intro and leveled it up a lot. And then awesome. I met Javed a few years later, who was like, dude, I think I can do this. And he pitched his version. That made Satchel go, dude, this Javed guy's really good. And they started doing this. That's then during the pandemic, the 2 of them were too busy. So I hired someone else named Nikolai, who'd been doing graphics for us for a while. And then he did it. And that made the 2 of them go, whoa, I never thought of it that way. And so now the 3 of them, I'm constantly talking about, hey, what are we going to do with this beard? Like, how are we going to make it appear this time? What is it inspiring for the next generation of this? So, I think it's very important. It's a very, my flag in the ground. This is what I do. Yeah. And if you don't get it, then watch a video.
And that's a different conversation at 1.6 million, subscribers and hundreds of thousands of views per video versus, or tens of thousands or however many of thousands versus 20,000 subscribers and 10,000 views on a video. So that's an interesting one to think about, especially if you're new and starting out. It is just a point to say that your show feels like a show. It does not feel like a YouTube channel, and that is very much a compliment to the team and what you guys are making.
Thank you. And I think the hardest part is that every day we try asking ourselves, because YouTube's always saying you're not making enough content. You're always making your 4 new Completionist episodes usually and nothing else. You need to make supplementary content. And in my mind, every piece of content is a show. I can't just poop out a weird video. And then I do it every now and then to try something, but I'm not happy with it.
Who are the people who, whenever they upload, you click? Or do you even watch much YouTube?
Oh, I watch YouTube a lot.
Okay.
I make sure to watch as much as I can. Without question, I will stop everything and watch Norm, the gaming historian.
Always.
Norm is amazing. He's one of my best friends in the space, and he just gets better every single time. I have to watch it. I'm on his Patreon, so I get to watch it early, and then I'll watch it again when it finally hits the YouTube feed.
Awesome.
Defunct Land. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
With Kevin. He
Yeah.
is phenomenal. I have to watch all of his stuff.
That's great.
He's very, very, very good. I'm a big wrestling guy, so I watch a lot of wrestling
Okay.
YouTubers. Wrestling Bios is one of my favorites because he has a series called Reliving the War, where
Okay.
he watches Monday Night Raw with the WWF and WCW's Nitro and tells you what both the shows were doing at the same time. And
Yeah.
he does it in a way where you're like, oh, that's why I liked that when I was a kid, or oh, that's why that's bad.
So I've never in my life been able to get into wrestling.
Oh man,
I don't get it. Like, and I don't knock it. I just don't
Yeah.
get it. But my buddy Josh, who co-hosts our podcast, he was talking about it last night. He was saying, I don't get it either, but I get together with my friends and they watch it, and there's like 4 hours of, there's like a little bit of the match, but it's all this other stuff that is so compelling.
yeah.
And that's totally lost on me. I don't know if I'm too pretentious
Oh
or
man,
what. But
no. How do I describe it? Imagine watching a stage play every night, except what justifies the conflict is people fake fighting each other, and the fake fighting is the ballet, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not about who wins or who loses.
Did you see South Park's take on this?
Yes, South Park's take is so good.
Yes.
Because it actually does wrestling very, very well. And when they actually wrestle, the guys are like, why are you wrestling? What is this crap? This sucks. Like, after they're just like talking on the mic about random
good.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Those are good channels. Who makes you laugh the most on YouTube?
Oh man, who makes me laugh the most?
Yeah. Who do you think's funny on YouTube? You have sketches, skits, and I'd say even just beyond YouTube. Give me some of the. You mentioned Edgar Wright. Are there any others? For your style of humor.
Oh man, I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I have a favorite comedian. I don't know. Huh? I think you broke my brain.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to think on it because we'll put it in the bank. Hopefully by the end of this interview, I'll have an answer.
You can circle back and maybe I'll edit it in at this point.
Yeah.
Here, let's pause. Good looks for the camera. All right, now if it gets edited in, it gets edited right there.
Yeah.
I like that. Let me get a little bit personal with you.
Sure.
You've been quite open on your channel about your mom's dementia.
Yes.
And you've also talked a little bit about your own mental health journeys and struggles and things like that.
Yeah.
And everything involved with that. Tell me a little bit about when you create something. Do you find that ever helping you work through something that you're working through? And alternatively, do you ever find it working against you?
Yes and yes in both instances. I jokingly used to say I live my life one game at a time.
Okay.
Like, oh man, like Fast and the Furious. Like I live my life one game at a time.
I was expecting cigarette smoke to blow this way when you said that. One game at a time.
One game at a time.
No, okay.
It's been many years.
Yeah.
No, I think, but a lot of that's become kind of true in that because I've been through so much of my childhood, through my mom being sick and sharing that with the audience and that journey, for me, the games have helped me cope a lot with regards to getting over a situation. And I do, in my mind, I do a lot of like, word association for a game. Like if you name a game that I've completed, I associate a feeling, and that feeling is what the game made me feel, or it's a certain smell because I played it when I was a kid and this was happening in my life.
I totally get that. That's a total Pavlovian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so in the beginning, the Completionist helped me a lot to find myself, to deal with grief in certain ways, and really helped elevate me as a person to grow. Especially because in the YouTube space, there's been a lot of idiots out there that have just done and said a lot of dumb things.
Yeah.
And it's definitely made me turn inward and go, do I treat people this way? Do I do these things? Am I a problem? Or do people really know what I'm trying to be articulate with? And so it really then became the inverse of like, oh, each game is a challenge because, like prime example, I completed a game recently, and in the video, I spent a lot of time praising this game. I love this game. It's my favorite. I'm passionate about it. And then someone online came after me because they said, you said the game, you complained that the game was too easy, and yet you played it on easy mode. And that, like, don't you see how that is a false advertisement of your experience? And I kind of sat there and I was like, well, I spent a long time telling you I love this product. I didn't criticize it because it was too easy. I actually praised it because it was easy. Because in my perspective, completing games is hard. And it's not that I play on the easy setting all the time. My show is I do everything. I play on the hardest setting almost all the time. And I have to do the ultimate challenges and all these things. But in this one instance, I played with a mechanic that was meant to help with accessibility. And that helped me enjoy the game more. And that interaction alone makes me go, every time I say something, it becomes someone's content and ingestion, and they receive what I say. And then they process it, and it hits them differently. And not everything I'm saying necessarily is what they're hearing. It's just how they interpreted it.
That is such a humongous thing, I think, to camp on. There are so many times when filmmakers, YouTubers, whoever, say something with a very particular authorship and intent. I meant it this way. And then it gets reframed or it gets heard a really particular way.
Recontextualized.
Yeah, and some of that's just bad listening.
Yeah.
Like, culturally speaking, we're not great at, so tell me what you mean when you say this.
Yeah.
We don't usually say that. We just say, you said this. But at the same time, all of that misunderstanding, I would think that on YouTube, if you don't have a thick enough skin, that could really bear down on your sleep and your just self-care and all of that, because you're thinking of, a stranger on the internet said that this game was too easy.
Sure.
And they had a problem with that. I could see that, and I'm not suggesting you have a thin skin or anything like that, but just more to say that, in general, that's something I personally experience is I respond to all my comments. I'm in that phase of, all of this is community and fun and everything, and I hope I don't lose that part ever. But at the same time, it has taught me a lot about how to think about criticism and respond well to criticism.
It's funny you respond to all your comments. You know what I used to do? This is a real thing that I used to do, and I had to stop because it was ruining my mental health. Every episode, it would come out, and I'd give it a week. The week would be over. I put a new episode. And so when the new episode is out, I'd watch I'd sit down, I'd watch last week's episode, write down what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, what was hard about the production process, what was easy about it. And then I would go through and I'd physically print out every single comment that I got in the video. And I'd put on a corkboard.
Wow.
And I would take a highlighter and I would highlight green for positive, yellow for indifferent or a comment that had nothing to do with my content, or red for negative. And in the beginning, what I mostly saw, because my videos went viral early on, so I had to see a lot of the feedback. So in the beginning, it was a lot of green, lots of yellow, lots of red. You saw almost evenly across the board.
Yeah, very colorful.
So immediately I learned, okay, the things that were yellow and red indicate that I'm doing something wrong. So let me change some aspects about it to position myself. So early on, I used to say a lot of very South Park adult-based comedy. In the first episode of The Completionist, I made a lot of jokes that were really red flags. And in my mind, it was this is what YouTube is. It's that 4chan,
Sure.
you're throwing it out there, AVGN, pooping on stuff. That's the vibe.
Yeah.
I learned very quickly that a lot of people were like, hey, I have a kid watching, and this is not good for my kid. So immediately I was like, okay, I'm attracting a young audience. How can I still do what I'm saying without sacrificing the creativity? Yeah. So removing the very adult humor, and if I do humor, make it very specific. So I'd make that change.
Yeah.
Don't swear as much, or if I swear, bleep it out. Because then...
Which I think is generally funnier.
I also, because of South Park, whenever I hear bleeps, it makes me laugh.
Yeah, in fact, when you watch South Park and it's uncensored...
It kind of ruins it.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
For my taste.
There was the episode where they said the S word hundreds of times. That episode is so funny because the counter's going, and the next episode it's censored again, and I'm totally okay with it because it makes that episode stand out.
Speaking of creativity with the most bizarre ways to be creative,
right?
How can we be creative about saying a swear word? I know, a counter. And it was such a perfect artistic response to Paramount, I believe it was, or whoever Comedy Central. Anyway, keep going.
So over time, over the years of my career, the green comments eventually would take over, and the yellow comments and the red comments would be minimal at best, and which was great for me because it made me feel like, okay, people are connecting with the product. I'm doing a really good job. You see that base, but then you start to see what happens when your videos go viral. When another content creator who doesn't like you but makes videos about you and sends you a different audience.
You've never had that happen before.
Never, ever, no. Well, and I'm not a controversial dude. My whole vibe is like, I don't care what color you are, what race, what gender, as long as you're nice to everyone, come to my channel, we're going to learn and laugh and play together.
That whole do unto others thing is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. And eventually, as the internet, YouTube culture grew, you saw a lot more folks learning, if I attack other content creators, I get more views. It also questions their questionability or their respect and loyalty in the space, and it creates dissonance amongst audience members. And so immediately I had to go, I can't curate my community here. And that made me go, it's time for a Discord, it's time for a Reddit, it's time for a Twitch or something else where I can interact one-on-one with my audience.
And you're hitting on something really important, which is it's very tempting, especially as you're starting out and trying to find that audience, to go to clickbait on the negatives or to focus content on the negatives, whatever it may be. And you do you, but at the same time, every time you open up your cell phone, and as soon as you open up whatever app or the internet or whatever, there's literally millions of people saying, look over here.
Yeah.
And every time that they do that, they realize, well, if I talk about fun, non-tension things, your brain's not going to be like, oh, okay, I want to watch that. It's fun and lighthearted. People are incentivized to be jerks.
Yes.
And they're incentivized because it might get more clicks, it might get more money, it might get more viewership. And it's a really tough balance to not give in, I think, for some, to the temptation to go, oh, like a bunch of people clicked on this thing when I was really critical about GameStop or whatever. And that was the thing. But it's so hard to go, I'm not going to do that because that's not really how I feel about something. And yet at the same time try to get people to come in. It can be discouraging to not go there. I wonder if you ever feel that when you get to a game and you're looking at it from a critical perspective. Have you ever found yourself overindulging or restraining yourself because of that very thing of the more negative I am about this game, maybe more people will click on it, that kind of a thing?
So there's definitely been moments where I've thought in advance about it. There's definitely been moments where I'm like, I think I'm okay in justifying how I feel.
Yeah.
And I've seen those moments bite me in the hand, and I've seen those moments where no one bats an eye.
Yeah.
So it's very inconsistent to have that perspective. I recently did a video during the pandemic about Resident Evil Village.
Yep.
And I loved that game. And that video, for the most part, was like, this game is amazing, it's great, I love it. But a lot of my tone and a lot of my presentation and how I came off in the video came off as, hey, this game is great, but let me tell you everything that I wish it did.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I, the gaming guy who plays games, would have done differently if I was the guy in charge. That wasn't my intent by any means, but the comment section was brutal, and the online discourse was brutal because they're like, he didn't, review the game so much as he just gave his hot takes of what he would have done differently.
Sure.
And in both cases, they're both right and they're both wrong. I did review the game. I did give my thorough thoughts and feelings about it, but you couldn't hear it or listen to it because my negative aspect was too strong about it.
Interesting.
And it really taught me sometimes I have to remember that I can't consume a product and hone in on, well, it didn't give me this, and this is why it's bad. I have to just review what was given me, and I can draw from experience about, it's not like this, and I wish it was more like this, if it hinders me a certain way. But instead of that, I just went, it should have done this, it should have done that, it could have done this, it would have done this, and the discourse, just that alone, again, goes back to my image, right? It makes me look less credible. It makes me stumbling on my feet look stupid in those ways. And you're right. You sometimes do think, maybe I shouldn't pull the punches so hard here.
Yeah.
Or if I am pulling the punches, why? That's the thing I always tell my writing team. If I am gonna hate something, why? Give me the most specific reason why.
Well, I think this is the hardest thing to think about with criticism, whether it's film criticism, art criticism, YouTube criticism, game criticism, whatever, is that when you criticize something, people have maybe, and let's say in most cases, passionately put time, hours, energy, thought into that thing.
Yeah.
And it is hard to emotionally detach from it and go, once I release this song, once I release this game, it's now out of my hands and it's into everyone else's hands.
Yeah.
And when we as the audience give a critique, I'm critiquing the product or I'm critiquing something about it, but I'm not critiquing you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think people feel so personally attached to that
They feel like
thing
they're being attacked.
that they feel like they're being attacked.
Yeah.
And that can be a really tough thing to wither or get through.
I experienced it a lot when I did a video on The Last of Us 2. Because I love The Last of Us 1, and Last of Us 2 is such a controversial topic. I liked it for the most part,
Yeah.
but I had my criticisms as a game designer, or rather, like, I felt there could have been some improvement, and it wasn't about the story, it was mostly about how things were told and the gameplay itself. And a lot of people were like, hey, because you're putting out this dangerous opinion, you're hurting certain groups of people and their opinions. And I kind of sit there and go, no, I'm criticizing a game. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm not doing that. And again, it goes back to ingestion of content and interpreting it in a different way. And I think that's something that we all forget about.
I'm convinced that a lot of human behavior is metaphorical. For example, someone who might obsessively clean their home. The behavior is they're obsessively cleaning their home. Mm-hmm. But that obsession might be because of something they feel inside about everything must be perfect and in order. Do you think that there's anything about completing video games that is like that you're trying to complete something in your own life? Does that make any sense?
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. Well, yes and no. I think yes to the answer and no to the answer. The yes being, I absolutely believe in the idea of I am trying to complete something in my life. I am trying to fill a hole that's pretty large, and I think a lot of that hole is my family and specifically the word legacy. So I have a one-man show called The Completionist Legacy, and
I wanted to ask you about that too. Keep going.
And it's funny because people who buy tickets to see the show, they're always surprised at the show because they're the kind of rhetoric is like, oh, Jirard's kind of funny. Like, Jirard can perform, and it's like, well, I've been on the stage for 15 years of my life, and
I went to school for this.
So and I understand because I don't really convey that all the time in the show. People sometimes just think I'm just being myself, but I try to give a little zhuzh to my performance. And the show is about my relationship with my father and how I am his living legacy, and that whether I like it or not, I am chasing this dragon that is to make him proud of me, and how
what son and father cannot relate to that.
Exactly. And the trials and tribulations of being the youngest of five in a immigrant family in America, where you're missing a parent at a very young age. You're the baby of the family when mom is gone, and you have to learn to emulate and develop your own feelings, and more importantly, take care of yourself. It's a lot to kind of parse down, and that's what the show is about. And it really, because I've done the show so many times, has really led me to understand my complicated relationship with my dad. And how no matter what, I am not a big stats guy, but if I sit down with you today with a sheet of paper and mapped out every single accomplishment that I've had in the last 12 years of my life, the amount of money I've made, the lives that I've changed, the people that I've helped, all the amazing, the opportunities that I've had, the cool things I could have done, my father still thinks that I'm not doing the right thing, or I'm not accomplishing my goals or dreams, or I'm not, and that's a very Lebanese thing. That is a very dream maker thing. You will always be the shadow of your relationships around you.
Well, it's a biblical thing. I mean, it's
absolutely.
I mean, it's Shakespearean, it's biblical. It's there's an archetypal storyline there in the sense of that's a disapproving father, and especially the baby in the family son, and how I think it's my question to you earlier was about, does YouTube ever help you express something? That's exactly what I mean. You put together a storyline, but you took it on tour and did the show. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no.
I'm really fascinated all the more by what you're saying.
Yeah. So that part of it is very much true in how I do things. It's always trying to succeed, not for the sake of succeeding or a checkbox, but to provide for my friends and family, and to show my family that I do have love and value and worth. At the same time, I turn off a lot of the completionist tendencies nowadays more than ever, because being the completionist at times has ruined a lot of my relationships, a lot of my my tendencies and how I've run things. You know, I have missed a lot of weddings. I've missed a lot of funerals. I've missed babies being born. I've missed birthdays. I've missed family opportunities.
Wow.
And a lot of it is because I'm in a different state doing a convention and a talk, or I am in a different country doing the same thing, or I'm filming a secret project here, or working on something here. And so I've built kind of this web of busyness that makes me so busy that being the completionist effectively has ruined my relationships with those I care about the most.
Wow.
And it's not, obviously I could repair it, and I can make effort to do that, but the level of communication required for the parties involved is too complicated and too difficult to find a middle ground.
Yeah.
So all I can really do is still continue on this train and focus on doing what I've been doing best, and hope that through the success that I do have, like going back to legacy, that I can bridge those gaps and hope to fix them. It's a lot. I know it's very complicated and a nuanced answer, but
no, I mean, there's a lot more I want to ask you about, but I feel like I might be getting too personal.
You
with
ask
some of
away.
those things.
I'm here. This is it.
Well, there's something about, you know, I think you've brought into this conversation by saying all that you've shared about questions about identity.
Yes.
What makes you a person? What makes you a man, an immigrant, you know, human, and the relationships. I'm convinced are where that's borne out. And so in asking you about this metaphor of completing things, and what that means to finish something thoroughly and done, I don't know. I'm piecing together everything that you're saying and kind of just verbalizing it back out loud. But it sounds like you can be stuck in a vortex that, if you're not careful, is going to swallow you whole. And yet at the same time, you seem aware of that you're in the vortex.
That's exactly what it is. You cannot have worded it any better. It's that to a T.
And with that, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I appreciate you being so vulnerable about that, because that's not something people usually go on YouTube and say, let me tell you about my family system and my family of origin, and also I make funny videos about video games.
Sure. Well,
it's needed. I think, again, it's men. When do men get together and talk about these kinds of topics this openly? I commend you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think a lot of it, in my opinion, is there's not really a space to do that. And more importantly, it goes back to being vulnerable to people who don't know who you are. Because the minute you open that door, the criticism is no longer about the content.
Yeah.
The criticism is about the person.
You.
And, like, whenever someone says, like, oh man, like, you're stupid because your mom wasn't around, I just get to go, if you knew half the things that my mom taught me before she passed, let alone in the stages of her illness, you would think twice before saying that to me.
Yes.
But that never hurts me. That's not the stuff that hurts me at all, because that experience is mine. It's my family's. It's the curse and the pride of being able to be a survivor of someone that has that kind of that situation. Yeah. Dementia is such a mysterious thing that people don't understand until they meet someone who has it.
Your brain is telling you how your body runs, and all of your senses are coming in, giving you information about the environment around you.
Yeah.
And like a giant computer, and if one little wire in that computer was suddenly unplugged or was frayed, and it affected the whole computer, I could not imagine my perception being, I'm literally having a conversation with Jirard right now, and then if my wife walked in and was like, who were you talking to? I'd be like, no, wait, what? Like, that would be...
This video is not real. I'm a projection.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to, like, screen you out right now.
Yeah. Star Wars style. Yeah.
Any advice for relatively youngish YouTubers like myself who have a channel with 20,000 or with 200 or with 20? Anything that you would say in this current iteration of YouTube as just kind of give us some general Jirard advice that we can sue you about if you're wrong?
Sure, that's easy. Couple answers to that question, but I'll try my best to be as specific as possible. The first thing I recommend is this platform is called YouTube. The keyword is you. What is the you aspect of your content? That sounds stupid to say.
No, it doesn't. Actually, that's great.
But there's so many people out there who love to imitate, who love to feel inspired, who love to replicate what they see, right? TikTok's entire platform is replicating the same X challenge, Y people that they see, the memes or whatever, the trend.
Posting someone's video and then going,
oh yeah, like reacting to, like
anyway,
not saying a freaking word, right? So I guess the easy way is figure out what you do. And that doesn't mean just, well, I make Let's Play videos, I make reviews. Anyone can do that. What is your viewpoint? What is your specific feeling that burns in your soul? I want to express this. That's the biggest thing. Because if you don't have a viewpoint, then why should anyone care? I need to see your passion leaping through the screen in order to get me connected. If you're just like, well, I want to be famous, that's not the same thing as passion.
No.
I didn't make a single dollar until like year 3 or 4, and it cost me a lot to do that. So it's easier nowadays to make money, but just be respectful of it, right?
Yeah.
What is the you aspect? The second thing I would say is make something that not only you're proud of, but if you watch a year, 3, 5, 7, 8 years, 10 years from now, the content still holds up.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of creators who are in the zeitgeist of, I need to give my opinions on the most recent Nintendo Direct, or I need to give my opinions on the Microsoft acquisition, right?
Yeah.
That content, like, if you think about your favorite creators, you're like, oh man, my favorite video that Mort did was the one where he talked about Square Enix selling Crystal Dynamics
literally
to Embracer Group.
Video.
Yeah, wow, that's my favorite one. Yeah. Mort, keep doing it. Like, no, like that doesn't work that way. It's right. You kind of, you have to look at content in the way of someday when I'm looking back, or when someone finds you for the first time and they're watching your backlog, they're going to look at every piece of content and assess what you say and do.
Yeah.
And obviously, time and place. Not everyone's going to know and see how you feel.
Sure.
And your perspective's going to change. But you should try your very best to make sure that your content is evergreen. And I feel like a lot of famous people on YouTube don't do that. They just think, I'm going to react to memes. I'm going to, it doesn't have that same staying power, in my opinion. And this is all opinion, by the way. This is my philosophy.
This is not YouTube consultation.
Yes.
Think media. Let's blow up your YouTube channel. But this is just, and this is what I wanted, the creative aspect. Yeah. Okay. Good.
The final thing I will say.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is the Jirard you in YouTube?
Like, what do I do?
Well, you said, what is the you in YouTube? What's the thing that makes you on
Sure.
YouTube? What is that answer for you?
Oh man, that's a great question.
Well, you posted
and I can't even answer my own question. No. What it is the aspect of me. I always try and frame the completionist as a sentence.
Yeah.
So before it was man beats game. That was the thesis of the show. I will beat the game. I will complete the game, essentially. Mm-hmm. Man fights insurmountable task and wins.
Mm-hmm.
That's no longer the case anymore. Theoretically, it is on paper, but really what the show is about is X game makes me feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my aspect of completing the game and my content viewpoint is this game creates all of these parallels of themes and challenge, and it's fun and all these things. But the way that I feel is changing because of the fact that I have to complete the game.
Mm.
I grew up poor and I couldn't I couldn't buy games.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my completionist tendencies come from the fact that I had to rent them from Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents told me, you don't get a new one until you complete the one you have. And that's how it all started. I still take that with me for all the better or worse things my therapist will tell me, to my aspects of how I view games. Because I need to see if this roadmap is here that equates to what I love and what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the most me thing I can be, is
Love that.
It's eating my entire plate for as fat as I am, eating the whole plate and with vegetables. And I can say it, I'm a fat guy. Eating everything that's there to really process it and go, okay, great. I saw the value and I have my viewpoint and my feelings.
Yeah.
Because I think if you look at how creators create stuff, the feeling isn't always there.
No.
It's just, hey, everyone, this happened today, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a viewpoint.
Yeah. And also the false excitement. Like, if I have to hear phrases like, I'm the biggest fan of one more time, it's like, you can't be the biggest fan of everything. At some point,
Sure.
you gotta nuance that out a little bit. But I'm being
called,
I'm being unnecessarily critical.
But I think what you're getting at, though, is that at least the way I hear that is like, get to your point sooner. How can you say I love this game without saying I love this game?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of, you were talking about humor a moment ago. One of my biggest criticisms of gaming channels in general, or maybe the thing I least attach to, is that there's a histrionic, hyperbolic way of doing all of the humor where it's like overly dramatic or like overly slapstick, and it's like, that's fine, like that's what you enjoy, but
sure,
it is so hard to do funny humor that's well written, and I don't know, I think like it can be easy to just go, this game sucks, I'm going to light it on fire, or break it, or whatever. And I know some of that's AVGN's whole personality, but that's him. He owns that.
Right. I agree with you. And that's how I started. I had to learn the hard way.
Sure.
Oh, that's not my humor. That's what everyone else's humor is.
Yeah.
And I get complaints every now and then are like, you're not funny in your videos anymore. Like, why aren't you not as funny? Or the jokes you make are they're very straightforward and specific and pointed. It's like, well, that's by design, because I've grown a lot as a person.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily need to take out a hammer and beat up a game.
Right.
If you need to understand how much I hate this game because I took out a hammer, then I'm not telling you actually how I feel.
It's so good. Yes.
Or you're not listening to how I think and feel. And I think if I can't get that point across from here, you're definitely not going to get it through there.
100%. Okay, you were going to say a final thing. I don't know if you remember it, but you're going to give a final piece of advice.
Yes, final piece of advice. I think I already said it earlier, but I need to stress it. YouTube is not a bank. It is not a place where you just get money. You do not just become famous. I cannot stress this enough. There are so many people out there that just think you make a YouTube video and you succeed.
Money, please.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It's not how this works.
Yeah.
And the way I would describe YouTube from a money-making perspective is, let's imagine we're all at a public pool. And we were at the pool today, and there's no one in the pool. So you get to go in the pool and you enjoy all of the free room you've got.
That's it.
To swim in this pool. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow at the pool, man. It was a great day. Let's go. You come back the next day. The pool is filled head to toe with people.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. There's probably pee in it.
Yeah.
You're
It's a classic too many people in the pool situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which means that we're getting metaphorical here. Real estate wise, there's nowhere to move. There's no opportunity to enjoy yourself in the pool, and you just want to get out because you hate how it is here.
Yes.
That's essentially what YouTube is on a monetary scale. There's too many people creating content that a lot of the views, I don't know if you know this based on your analytics, majority of your views are not monetized. And it's not because you're a bad content creator. It's because there are hundreds of thousands of millions of people who are uploading millions upon millions of video a minute.
Yeah.
And ads are supposed to be everywhere?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yes.
It's impossible.
No, that's the interesting thing statistically. Every time somebody uploads a video, I'll speak for myself. Whenever I upload a video, I know that I'm uploading amongst a sea of other videos. Everything from a 10-second, like, oh, does my cell phone work? And then, like, that gets uploaded as a video, up to Norm the Gaming Historian's newest video, and we're all going to click and watch, and we're excited. But there is something about that is can be so discouraging. But I also wonder how true that analogy works if there are that many videos. But I think people are switching more and more to watching YouTube as their primary way of watching content in general. I'm really wondering in that initial question of filmmakers, TV show writers, etc., kind of going like, oh, look at that cute little YouTube thing over there. But so many people are watching this cute little YouTube thing over here, and now we're going like this. I've talked a lot about the film Asteroid City on my channel because of my kids, but it was interesting to see them release it wide for 3 weeks and then go pretty quick to video on demand. And some people were saying that they were trying to make it, longer in the theaters, but at the same time, people are streaming stuff. And I wonder if even mentally people equate streaming with YouTube in general. But it doesn't change something I think that's at the bottom line, which is, speaking to what you were saying, if you make something that's authentic, that's you, that's evergreen, that you could watch 5 years from now as you could watch today, at the end of the day, if something is truth, if something is good, if something is quality, I do think that it's worth making, and that it will, and maybe this is just my blind optimism, but I do think that people will find that stuff eventually.
Yeah.
And it does stay, that hopefully you can have a pool with a little less pee in it.
Well, I do want to comment on one thing you said that I really agree with, and I think it's indicative of where we're headed, in that you have the film guys over here looking at YouTube over here, right? But now what we're seeing, there's a slight change, and that change is YouTube is doing this, film is doing this, and what you have in the center, so it's a weird phallic device, is TikTok and the rise of YouTube Shorts.
Yes.
And the idea that content can be uploaded whenever we want, wherever we are, and it is depreciating the value of the game.
Yes.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Prime example. I'm gonna look around the room and grab a brand that I've never heard of before. Beer bread. Okay, beer bread made by this company. I can't read the brand, but beer bread. Let's say the beer bread company comes along, and
Pampered Chef, by the way.
Great.
Yeah.
Was it Peppered Chef?
Pampered Chef.
Pampered Chef.
Yeah.
Okay. For the sake of protecting their brand, Beer Bread the company.
Beer Bread the company.
They want to pay an influencer a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And they pick Mort. And they love working with Mort. They think his beer bread content is exactly what they align with. And so they're paying you for years to do all this stuff. And as you are succeeding in helping them grow their business and their company, they're looking at your views and your numbers, and it's getting better and better.
I hear what you're saying.
And you have this great relationship. 7-8 years later, you're looking at this, and you're looking at the other people who are making content, who are younger, who are smarter, who are faster. Better is objective, or subjective, but they show up.
Yeah.
And they look at you and they go, "Hey, I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
I'll do what you're paying Mort, for free, or for 95% off."
Yeah.
And suddenly you start to see the shiny toy, and you go, "I don't want to play this one anymore. I'm going to play with this one." And that's essentially what all this is.
Yeah.
When you boil it all down, is that eventually
that's great.
You just kind of get tired of it and go, "Great, I'm going to put this down, and now this thing's the new thing." And that's what you're seeing with YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah.
It's this rise of short-form content.
It'll be really interesting to see how long that lasts and what sticks around, because I can still, even when I think of like my favorite films from high school, I remember specific scenes as much as maybe more so than I remember the whole story.
Yeah.
Like whether it's something as innocuous as Tommy Boy, remembering him ordering the fried chicken and saying, "It's not here, but right here," and he's pointing to his big wound from the board. Anyway, but I also think that's incumbent upon anyone who's making something to go, what is the creative way to adapt to all of this, like with AI, so that we manipulate AI to use it and not have it use us with short-form content? What's the way to make compelling short-form content? And I just can't get away from the fact that something genuine and emotional will have a different kind of resonance. It's a really interesting point, and I'm really curious what's going to happen at the end of the day to all of this. I mean, it used to be that just stuff would be so popular for so long. When you and I were kids, if a big movie was out for the summer, it defined the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Now it defines a week. And then it's like next week is the next one. Like, we've already moved past Fast and the Furious. We've already trashed Indiana Jones. We could even get molecular to the current zeitgeist. We've already moved on beyond the Grimace Shake. The Grimace Shake was gone.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Oh my god!
And now it's gone. Like, that's
right.
That's how it moves.
Oh man,
that's how fast it all is.
And that's just how fast it moves through your intestinal tract as well. Thank you. Let's do some word association, because you said you had some fun word associations. I'm going to throw out some games. I'm going to look around the game room.
Sure.
And I want you to give me a word association or two. This is Word Associations with Jirard. It's the new hit game here on my Mort.
Everyone's doing it on TikTok.
No, this is not a TikTok thing, because this is an us thing. Here we go. All right. This is everyone who's Lebanese is doing this. All right.
Yes.
Let's start with I'm trying to think of the game. Super Metroid.
Gotta go fast.
Okay. Metal Gear Solid PS1.
Die Hard.
River City Ransom.
Abobo.
San Francisco Rush 2049.
The Rock and Arcade port.
Halo 1.
Classic.
Wii Sports.
Lovely.
Persona 5.
Long.
The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Overrated.
You leave my garage, sir!
But say the next one.
Majora's Mask.
Better than Ocarina of Time.
You seriously need to leave! Twilight Princess.
Not as bad as everyone says.
Phantom Tracks. Or Spirit Tracks. Phantom, what is it?
Spirit Tracks.
Yeah, that's the one.
For the DS?
Yeah.
Haven't played it.
Fail. How about
It's my last Zelda game I have left.
okay.
And then I've done everything else with the CDI games.
How about what's it? Link's Awakening on the Switch.
A toy box that I love.
Wow, that's deep. Super Mario 64.
Banjo-Kazooie's better.
Okay, you can come back in the garage.
I look, just to be clear, I love Ocarina of Time. I love Mario 64. They are all-time classics.
Saying something is overrated isn't saying it's bad. It's
Correct.
saying it's overrated. Those are different
Correct.
things. Yes.
Just so we're back into the zone of ingesting what's being said.
It doesn't matter that you're wrong, but it still is that, okay, all right, then let me get you one last one.
Sure.
This is my favorite game of all time, and I'm really curious you're going to say Super Puzzle Fighter 2 for the PS1.
Fine. It's good. It's a good game. Good.
That was kind of a whimper to end this game on.
Yeah.
I need a better one. All right.
Sure.
Okay, let's think here.
I respect it.
Yeah.
It's not a bad choice.
It's a puzzle game. I get it.
It's a puzzle. Yeah, it's like Tetris. It's like, yeah, it's great. It's fun.
I mean, you could say some Tetris.
It's great. It's fun.
Right. I'm going to go through a series. God of War 1 on the PS2.
Ooh, okay. God of War 1 on PS2. Amazing.
God of War Ascension.
It's okay.
God of War PS4.
All-time classic.
God of War Ragnarok.
Somehow better than an all-time classic that is God of War. It's so good.
Welcome back.
You know what it is? You'll understand this. You'll know this. I don't view God of War and God of War Ragnarok as two separate films.
No, it's one story.
It's Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2.
Yeah, perfect. So, you know what? It's funny. I compared Ragnarok to The Lord of the Rings in the sense that when I started playing Ragnarok, I felt like I was watching the Two Towers, where I'm like, I've had all of this established in Fellowship, and now I'm into Two Towers.
Exactly.
And I'm just right back into the world of
Exactly.
Middle-earth.
It's exactly that.
So good. All right. Thank you so much for joining me here at the garage to have this wonderful discussion around all these things. You've been so gracious to be here. He's paying me to be here, which is incredible. Just kidding. But I do really want to thank you for making the time to be here.
Of course.
Out of your very busy schedule.
Yeah.
And love your stuff.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
He's a wonderful person. And this all happened because we just started chatting up at SoCal Retro Gaming Expo. And here we are. So that's the kind of guy this guy is. Pretty cool.
I don't know. I always feel like everyone's always like, we got the big YouTuber here. And I'm like, guys, I started out as a small YouTuber.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. It's all about how you present yourself and get through it.
It's all about how you present yourself.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this won't be the last time I'll have you here, but if it is, this garage is your home anytime.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank
All
you.
right. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you all next time, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, I remember the comedy channel.
Oh.
How To Basic. Do you know what How To Basic is?
Never heard of it.
It's a channel that does... I haven't seen it in a while, but it was a channel that it shows the title and the thumbnail is a tutorial of how to do something, but then you actually click on the video and it's has nothing to do with doing the tutorial. And if anything, it's like a really bad video. It's like someone with the camera close up. It'll be like how to tie a tie. It'll be like someone with his hands like destroying several ties with the hammer. It always makes me laugh because
awesome.
Because the thumbnail is so beautiful and so perfect, and the title's very simply tied together.
Yeah.
It's very weird, but very funny.
Okay, I'm gonna look that one up. All right, I have to shout out my favorite.
Yeah, go for it.
Girlfriend Reviews is the best written show on YouTube.
Shelby and Matt, we love you. You guys are amazing.
I want to meet you, please, someday.
Oh, they're
You
great.
too.
They're great.
Awesome.
I went to their wedding.
Oh,
Yeah, they're great folks.
I think I saw you in the wedding video, actually.
Yeah, I was walking around. Yeah,
That's awesome.
We had.
Better than laying on the ground, I guess.
Yes, very much true.
Yeah.
Very true. We had. You'll get a kick out of this. We had Peas and Chicks, the food truck, which is a Lebanese food truck.
Oh, praise him. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was
That's
great.
Good. All right. Well, thank you again, sir. I appreciate you being here.
Of course, no problem.
All right. Now we're done for real.
Now we're done.